How far is too far? How far can you push a man before he breaks? Actually, let me rephrase the question. How far can you push we the people before we break? A murder? A lie? Let's make it a lie so big it's the largest lie of its kind in history. And then let's go a step further. An entirely new threat identified. Something that's been hidden from you. You didn't even know it existed until yesterday. It's been rumored, but it all came out overnight. And everyone's not expecting repercussions. Just a tip of the iceberg of the stories today. Before we move into the Senate subcommittee that happened yesterday and some doctors got in front, there was murder. Oh, a proverbial single quote murder. Because when you ask doctors questions and they can't give you an answer, and a senator destroys you in front of a public audience, you don't need a meme. Nah, you need nothing fancy. All you need to do is put it on public display and the truth shall set you free. And it did. That and so much more on today's broadcast, so we'll be kicking off in just a few seconds.
We have to respond with force and strength. We have to be vicious just like they are. It's the only thing they understand. 24 of the top 25 most dangerous cities in America are run by Democrat mayors. 50 people were murdered in Chicago in recent weeks, with hundreds being shot. And it's time to stop this madness.
You think it's time to stop the madness? It's long past time to stop the madness. It's time to stop the lies. It's time to start admitting truth. The truth that they've worked day and night to hide from you. The truth that now, thanks to each of you, is coming out because you're realizing that the fringe media, as they once liked to call it, it was actually the media that was telling you the truth. Just like the primary story today, at least in the first portion of this broadcast. Just like Trump continued to give you the truth and once again is proven absolutely accurate. But let's go through some of the other breaking headlines yesterday, including Kamala Harris burying her old boss. Kamala Harris goes scorched earth on Biden's decision to run for second term. What did she call it, to be more specific, in her newest memoir being released? Was it grace or was it recklessness? In retrospect, I think it was recklessness that she wrote about her decision not to convince Biden to drop out of the 2024 race earlier. The stakes were simply too high. This wasn't a choice that should have been left to an individual's ego and individual's ambition. It should not have been more. It should have been more than a personal decision. What are you doing? Are you running like all the other rats would run from a ship that's sinking? A ship that's now exposed, a ship that everybody sees, a ship that what you did was completely wrong and was full of lies? Because any progress that you did report was actually proverbially wrong, was misrepresented, and was propagated by the media that supported you, and now it's all being exposed, and now you're going to run from your old boss. Wow. That is a class act there, Kamala. Of course, we'd expect nothing less from you. Then we also come to find out, other lies that have been hidden from us, or at least information hidden from us. I hope you saw this footage. Lisa did an amazing video on it yesterday. I'll put a link above. I want you to watch it. If you're restricted, just simply go to her video yesterday, because it appears that our Hellfire missiles was fired at this orb across the ocean, except the orb split the Hellfire missile in two and carried on as if nothing had happened. And later on, Anna Paulina Luna asked the experts about this footage and many other footage, by the way. They have an entire server full of this footage that you're not allowed to see and Congress isn't allowed to see because, we're too simple to comprehend it. And here was the response from the experts about the footage.
Okay, while this is still rolling, Mr. Nusatelli, real quick yes or no answers. Are you aware of anything in the government, United States government arsenal that can split a Hellfire missile like this?
No.
And do whatever blob thing it did and then keep going? Nothing?
Nothing.
All right, how about you, Chief Wiggins?
Nothing to my knowledge, ma'am.
Okay, and how about you, Mr. Borland?
I prefer to answer that in a skiff.
Okay, does this video scare you guys? Yes or no?
Yes.
Wiggins?
Yes.
Nat?
I had a different reaction. I was really happy that it got out. Thanks for providing
Curiosity killed the cat. All right, Mr. Borland?
Yes, for
Okay.
Is it the end of your questioning out there? Why don't they release the information? If it is foreign adversary technology, shouldn't it be put out to the public? If it is demonic technology, should we not know about it? Call it what you will. Some will call it aliens, some will call it demons. You know, I'm not going to judge you for your position on it. I think many of you know what my position on it is, but I guess we're not allowed to see it. We're just not privy to anything, are we? Except the more that comes out, the more we realize that our government simply continues to hold information back from us. Another major update yesterday coming out of Pam Bondi's office. Trump found there was a national emergency and took action under the laws imposed by the tariffs. What has the Supreme Court done now? A move that they haven't done much in the past. Supreme Court to quickly consider if President Donald Trump has power to impose sweeping tariffs. This on the AP. The Supreme Court granted an unusually quick hearing on President Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs on Tuesday, putting a policy at the center of his economic agenda squarely before the nation's highest court. For the Supreme Court, this is lightning fast, which means they understand the urgency. And when it comes to the primary story we're going to cover, you will understand the urgency too, because it goes to the historic lie that we've all been told. First time in history, the biggest lie in history when it comes to this very important fact was just outed yesterday. Chief Justice Robert, out of the Supreme Court yesterday, keeps in place Trump's funding freeze, threatens billions in foreign aid. Thankfully, for now, another victory for the Trump administration. Before I play, and we're going to play this at the end, I want to issue each of you a warning. There is footage out there, and you have the right to watch whatever you want, of the murder. And this footage is extremely graphic. And in our job as researchers, we look for everything. And yesterday, this image of what occurred, because I actually saw some despicable people state that this video footage was fake because of the reaction of the young woman immediately after being stabbed. There is what is called a shock response. The body goes into shock. But it was moments thereafter within the footage that is out on the internet of when she falls to the ground. And the visual of what is seen thereafter quickly goes to show how horrifically realistic it was. So I warn you, if you are searching the internet and stumble into this footage and don't want to see those images, don't play it. It will break your heart forever. But it led in part to Trump's message, and we're going to get there at the end of the video after we get through one of the most historic lies that America's ever been told. You know, we're blessed here at Restricted Republic to have you as audience members. And I want to thank each of you who helped and listened when I asked you to make sure your bell is checked to all. For those of you new here who subscribed, and we're up to thousands on top of thousands of you who've joined over the last week alone. So welcome to what news is meant to sound like, black and white presentation of fact. I attempt to be as non-biased as possible. My bias is towards the Constitution and God. That I'm never going to change, and to the rights of we the people. That will always be my bias. So if you're new here, welcome home. I'd love you to subscribe. Those of you who are already here, please make sure your bell is checked all. Continue to comment. Continue to share. I love your super thanks. I love you as members here. It tells the algorithm who's boss, which is you. And because of that, they continue to share the videos and let a wider audience see it. So that is what you are doing to spread the word. Those of you who say, I can do nothing to help. Yes, you can. By taking those simple steps, you assure more people's eyes are open to what news is meant to sound like. Those of you who have the means and can additionally support us to assure our efforts continue on, I would love you to go to restrictedrepublic.com. That's the platform that Lisa Haven and myself own. It is our news platform where we air all our public broadcasts on top of exclusive content. I'm only going to do a portion of a carry-on podcast there today. This podcast always continues almost every day into its full-length version there. And then Lisa's going to kick it in even more information because a report came out yesterday from RFK Jr. with details that will astound you. I'm just going to cover a small portion. She'll go into great detail, and it is eye-opening to say the very least. This woman is amazing, and we would love you to be there today. RestrictedRepublic.com, monthly and annual subscriptions available. Please join us there. But now, let's get back to this broadcast. So I hope many of you got to see this and understand what the net impact is and how big of a story it actually is. Job growth revised down by almost 1 million through March. So March 2024 through March 2025. If you recall, Trump was called a liar. He was called an idiot. He was actually chastised for firing the person who put out these statistics. I'm going to show you the articles. But what impact does this have? There's the actual U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. There's the downward revision, down 911,000. The impact of that's lost on some because it's long-standing, and it goes to indicate something that happened under the Biden administration that has long-reaching impact. The revisions were more than 50% higher than last year's adjustment and the largest on record going back to 2002. Actually, it's bigger than that. On a monthly basis, they suggest average job growth of 76,000 less than initially reported. Now remember, that's mainstream media here trying to minimize what happened. Most of the time span for the report came before President Donald Trump took office. Oh, no, that's probably hard for you to state, huh? Indicating the jobs picture was deteriorating before he began levying tariffs against U.S. trading partners. So all the arguments the mainstream media has given you that his tariffs aren't working may or may not be any fault of his own. So in other words, the levers were pulled before he ever came into office. So are his tariffs truly not working? Or are they helping to already offset something that was depleting because of what happened before? And to get into positive territory is even a more difficult process because of the lie. The BLS preliminary benchmark revisions to non-farm payrolls. And remember, also, there was a different statistic about U.S. labor force versus illegal immigrant labor force and where those jobs were going. And I'm going to get there, so hang with me. This should give the Fed more impetus to restart its cutting cycle. But the Fed didn't do that. Remember, because for a year, they allegedly had been fed false information. The information we know is false now. 100%. It was just proven. But did the Fed know that? Why hadn't they rolled the cuts forward? Because now they had been making their judgments based on improper information. 911 fewer jobs created between April 2024 and March of 2025. Look at which industries have the biggest revisions. Hospitality, wholesale trade, retail, manufacturing, information, and other services. However, hospitality, retail, manufacturing, and wholesale trade. Those are indicators, folks. And what do they indicate? Why don't you put it in the comments below? What was more than likely happening over the last few years of the Biden administration, but nobody dares say the word? It's too dangerous of a word, huh? It's one word. I want you to put it in the comments. I'm going to say it in a few minutes, but I want to see how many of you are right. This is more important of a chart. Because if I just do my John Madden again, and we take a simple marker from 2009 to the end of the Biden administration, Those are painful projections there because he drew us all the way back down. But nobody wanted to report that to you. If we read up above, just in 911,000 fewer jobs created. Same thing I talked. Wow, that's a big revision. That means that the labor market was weak even before the tariffs kicked in. The job market was mostly frozen in 2024. Average job gain before revision, 147,000 per month. Average job gains after revision, 71,000 per month. Does this start to resonate? Hold on. We're not done yet. The scandal of non-farm payrolls, there was virtually no job creation in the last year of the Biden administration. The Fed should have started cutting rates in February, but they didn't based on this data. Actually, if you look at the Biden administrations, look at that. Those are amazing numbers, huh? What would people have done if they saw these numbers before the election? Do you think it would have changed even more the outcome? Just a question. Asking for a friend. Because those three marks, 2 million jobs from the last 3 years of the Biden administration have now been revised away. 2 million jobs. I'm going to put it even in more context for you. Because you remember, the fired labor commissioner should sue Trump for defamation, was the article written by Salon. Last Friday, Trump unintentionally debunked the lie of this manufacturing image when he angrily fired the Bureau of Labor Statistics Commissioner, Dr. Erica McIntyre, because he didn't like her bleak data about the country's bleak economic state, even as he wears 34 felony convictions for his falsifying records. Strong indictment there, huh? If the president is firing the statistician because he doesn't like the numbers, but they are accurate, then that's a problem. But it appears the numbers weren't accurate now, huh? If not the statistician's fault, if the numbers are accurate, and that they're not what the president had hoped for, well, it appears the numbers weren't accurate. Trump also baselessly accused her of manipulating job numbers before the November election to take advantage of Democratic nominee Kamala Harris. I believe the numbers were phony, just like they were before the election, and they were other times. So you know what I did? I fired her. And you know what? I did the right thing. But remember, Salon said that she should sue him for defamation. But it appears now he was right, because in his opinion, today's job numbers were rigged in order to make the Republicans and me look bad. Just like when they had 3 great days around the 2024 presidential election, then those numbers were taken away on November 15th, right after it, when the job numbers were massively revised downward, making a correction of over 818,000 jobs. And Jerome Too Late Powell is no better. But good news, the country is doing great. Or, I was just informed that the country's job numbers are being produced by a Biden appointee, the Commissioner of Labor Statistics, who he fired, who should sue him for defamation for the biggest revision in U.S. history. But what makes matters even worse is the fact that even of those jobs gained, although minimal now, all employment growth has gone to foreign-born workers. 183,000 fewer U.S.-born Americans are working than in 2019 before COVID. Yet the number of immigrants, legal and illegal, working is up 2.9 million. Talk about revisionist history, huh? Were those numbers ever told to you? You see, when President Trump has to deal with a lie this big, the biggest revision, if I did my research correctly, in U.S. history, when President Trump has to deal with an enemy now, an enemy of more than likely what appears to be a recession that began long before he ever took office, but was hidden based on improper job numbers. But yet they wanted to use that so they could say his tariffs were failing. but the economy was already failing. So if the economy was down without him 75%, but with his tariffs he raised it to being down 25%, but they call it being down 25% a failure, is it truly a failure? I'm just throwing numbers out there. Those aren't meant to be accurate, but only an illustration of how they manipulated not only the statistics, but the facts overall to paint Trump as being Orange Man bad. And that gets a little dangerous, doesn't it? Especially when you're asking people to sue him for defamation. But not only the lies, not only the enemy of a recession he has to fight, but then he has to fight a murder. When he's being fought to not clean up what he said himself are cities that are running out of control. Footage that I have warned you before you watch. You better not be too sensitive, because it's heartbreaking. So I'm going to let him, and I'm going to replay his message for you before we carry on to even more heartbreaking information. Did you know I wish I could even share on the public, but I can't, because rules don't allow me to. It's funny though, this is actually research-based data that I'm going to be sharing. You at Restricted Republic will see it for what it is. It's data that was published to a congressional hearing. But there's rules on public platforms that don't allow, because what is contained within the data, for anyone to publish it, which is so freaking sad. It's not even biased data. It's just data. We don't make diagnoses. We don't give medical advice. We never have, and we never will. We just present facts, and you guys make decisions. And I even present both sides of the facts. But nonetheless, that's why we created a Restricted Republic. I certainly hope for you that aren't there, that you'll join us, and you joined us today, and you're going to see that video in a few minutes. Those of you who are already there, my family at Restricted Republic, I love you. You're going to kick over to the next video, which again will look something, at least carry this tab in part. Look for it, watch it, because your eyes are about to be opened. It's something that no one would ever allow you to see. And I deem it rather important that you do. But I'm going to let President Trump finish. He gives his 2-minute speech, and no American should miss it. I love you all. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justus Knight, signing out.
For far too long, Americans have been forced to put up with Democrat-run cities that set loose savage, bloodthirsty criminals to prey on innocent people. Really very, very innocent people. In every place, they control radical left judges, politicians, and activists, and they've adopted a policy of catch and release for thugs and killers. In Charlotte, North Carolina, we saw the results of these policies when a 23-year-old woman who came here from Ukraine met her bloody end on a public train. And here's a picture of it. This is the picture of it. And this is a picture of the woman, a beautiful young girl that never had problems in life, with a magnificent future in this country. And now she's dead. She was slaughtered by a deranged monster who was roaming free after 14 prior arrests. We cannot allow a depraved criminal element of violent repeat offenders to continue spreading destruction and death throughout our country. We have to respond with force and strength. We have to be vicious just like they are. It's the only thing they understand. 24 of the top 25 most dangerous cities in America are run by Democrat mayors. 50 people were murdered in Chicago in recent weeks, with hundreds being shot. And it's time to stop this madness. The people of our country need to insist on protection, safety, law, and order. We have proven that it can be done because we did it right here in D.C., in District of Columbia. The capital of America was a bloodthirsty, horrible, dangerous place, one of the worst. And now it's a crime-free city, and we're going to keep it that way. It can be done. It can happen fast. All we want is please, Mr. President, we need help. Chicago needs help. Other cities needs help. We'll do what has to be done because we're going to make America safe again, and that includes our big cities. We're going to make those cities safe. Thank you.